After using Zuckbucks to help buy the 2020 election for Biden, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg now has this to say about the bad orange man.
Seeing Donald Trump get up after getting shot in the face and pump his fist in the air with the American flag is one of the most badass things I've ever seen in my life. But look, I mean, it's and I think, look, it's, at some level as an American, it's like hard to not get kind of emotional about that spirit and that fight. And I think that's why a lot of people like the guy.
That's quite the character arc for Zuckerberg. Just look at what he was up to on the 4th of July. Now, I'm not saying he's turning into Mr. MAGA or that we can kiss Facebook censorship goodbye anytime soon, but it is encouraging to see the elites making it cool again to love this country after so many years of exactly the opposite. Where the way to signal your supposed intelligence was to go through the laundry list of everything you hate about this nation, real or imagined. In many ways, Elon Musk paved the way for other billionaire tech elites to change their signaling on America. He's now likewise leading the charge against CrowdStrike, the pro-Ukrainian cybersecurity firm which conveniently blamed Russia for the 2016 DNC hack without evidence, and which counts BlackRock and Vanguard among its shareholders. It went from being a regular cybersecurity firm to now providing its services to more than half of Fortune 500 companies, almost a decade out from the 2016 election. This includes banks and airlines and hospitals and major retailers, many of whom are suffering from severe disruptions. CrowdStrike is blaming an update error in its Microsoft Windows, but Elon Musk is blaming DEI. Joining us now to discuss this and other top headlines is Spike Cohen, the founder and president of You Are the Power. Spike, thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me, and congratulations on the upcoming birth of your child.
I really appreciate it. So I want to ask you, though, when it comes to CrowdStrike, how severe has this outage been? I mean, I've heard flights being canceled and some 911 systems aren't operating like they should be.
Oh, it's been terrible. It's been worldwide. It has affected airlines. It has affected utility companies. It has affected healthcare providers. There could be deaths as a result of this. We probably won't know for at least a few days, but this was a horrific thing. It was probably completely avoidable. And the bottom line is that, this is the wages of what happens when you have an increasingly regulated environment that leads to just a small handful of providers providing that service. You end up with one service going down, causing massive disruption, not just here, but around the globe.
And that's what I want to get into with you tonight, because everything seems to be a monopoly. But then I remember going, when you're in school as a kid, you hear about the monopolies bad and the trust busting and the government breaking it all up. But it seems like we're back at square one, at least in the tech world, with the tech boom going back to the 90s, that it seems like the same few companies own everything. It's almost that same weird feeling you get when you go to the grocery store, right? And you go, look at all these brands and look at all my choices. Then you realize the same like 5 parent companies own everything. And you go, oh, there's not a lot of choice going on here. So, I mean, CrowdStrike, I couldn't believe Fortune 500 companies, about half of them or more are all, being guarded by CrowdStrike. I mean, how did we get to this point where one company can be responsible for so much?
2 words: regulatory capture. Let's go back to your example. When someone goes to a store, they see all these brands, but they're really only owned by a handful of people. Well, that speaks to 2 things. One is that most people want to have a massive variety of choices. That's what the market actually demands. The second thing it speaks to is the fact that thanks to increasingly high regulatory and tax burdens in every sector of the economy, that barrier for entry to provide whatever that good or service is keeps going up, which means only the largest companies can thrive in that. And then what they do is use their power and influence to capture the very agencies that are supposed to regulate them. And so it's actually government that protects and creates and protects these monopolies. They would not exist in an actual free market. In an actual free market, when you have a company like a CrowdStrike that gets so big that an outage could cause everything to fall apart, and they're slow to respond to it, smaller, more disruptive, and more responsive competitors would necessarily take their market share, and for the better of the consumer and for that entire sector, that part of the economy. But what ends up happening instead is, because of those high regulatory and tax costs that are built right in, if you want to provide service one to customer one, you end up with just a small handful of providers. It is government regulation that does this.